Have you ever had one of those moments where everything seems normal, and then out of nowhere everything you thought you knew comes crashing down? Like, you're sitting there, thinking life's fine, then, BM, reality smacks you in the face. That's exactly how it went down for me. It was another evening at home. Nothing special. Just Sarah and I are sitting on the couch. We'd just had dinner, no fights, no big tension. Just a normal night. But it was about to change, in a way I could never have imagined. Sarah was sitting across from me, fiddling with her phone for a second, and then she looked up like she was preparing to drop something big. And she did. She glanced over at me. And in this quiet tone, she said, "I think we need more transparency in our marriage." I can't lie, I wasn't sure what she meant at first. I mean, we've had our conversations, sure. We've talked about finances, the future, and our goals. We've even had our fair share of deep emotional talks. But transparency? That word didn't sit right with me. It felt like she was gearing up for something heavy, something that needed more than just a casual chat. So I braced myself, thinking maybe she wanted to talk about something more personal, or maybe, she was feeling disconnected emotionally. Maybe she was worried about us, and this was just her way of starting a serious discussion. But then she hit me with it. She said, "I've been thinking about reconnecting with my ex-husband romantically." Now, I want you to understand something. This wasn't just a casual mention of an old relationship. This wasn't her talking about some high school fling or someone from a past life. She was talking about her ex-husband. The guy she used to tell me was the worst thing to ever happen to her. The guy she once said, and I quote, "is closer to the devil than anyone I've ever known." I don't know how long I was silent after she said it. Seconds? Minutes? It felt like an eternity. My mind was scrambling, trying to piece together what I'd just heard. She was serious. There was no joke in her voice. No laugh waiting at the end. Just this cold, matter-of-fact statement that hit me like a ton of bricks. I was left speechless. I mean, what do you even say to something like that? She was looking at me, waiting for my response, expecting me to just accept it. And then she framed it like she was doing me a favor. She said, "I thought it would be better to tell you than to hide it." Like somehow that made it okay. As if giving me the honesty card made it all better. Like, "Hey, I'm telling you, so you should be grateful." And then she added this. She said, "My feelings for him have always been unresolved. I think exploring them will make me a better partner to you." I won't lie, I wanted to scream, but the words stuck in my throat. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to respond to someone who could look me in the eye and say that. I was blindsided, caught in the most confusing and painful moment of my life. I didn't know if I should be angry, sad, or just numb, but she didn't seem to notice. Or maybe she just didn't care. The thing is, I never thought I'd be in a position where someone I loved, someone I trusted, would ask me to be okay with them leaving to be with someone else. But there I was. And in that moment, everything I thought I understood about love, trust, and marriage felt like it had crumbled into dust. In the days that followed, I couldn't stop watching her. Her behavior changed. At first, it was subtle, but then it started to stand out. More time on her phone. Little smiles to herself when she thought I wasn't paying attention. I didn't even have to look to know what was happening. Her body language gave it all away. She was pulling away from me. And the worst part? She kept saying nothing was happening. "Nothing has happened yet," she'd tell me, but the way she avoided my eyes, it was clear. I wasn't dumb. She kept saying she wanted transparency, but all I saw was secrecy. How could she expect me to just sit there, calm, waiting for her to go off and have some kind of emotional affair with the guy who nearly ruined her life? She told me to be patient, that everything would be fine, and that we could work through this. But how do you work through something like this? How do you go back to pretending everything is normal when you know it isn't? I spent days trying to figure out what I should do. Should I confront her? Should I just walk away right now? I didn't want to be the one begging for her to choose me, because at this point, I wasn't sure I even wanted to be chosen if she had already made her choice. And there was the question I couldn't shake. Was I even enough for her? It was hard to look at her without feeling something break inside me. After Sarah's confession, her insistence on wanting transparency, and the way she'd been acting lately, I couldn't shake the suspicion. So, one evening when she was in the shower and her phone was sitting there on the kitchen counter, I gave in. A part of me still hoped I'd find nothing, maybe some harmless text with this guy. I went through her WhatsApp, her Facebook messages, and her texts, nothing. My heart started to settle, thinking maybe I was wrong, maybe I'd overreacted. But then I opened Instagram, and I saw it. Her inbox wasn't flooded, but there were messages from Chris, her ex-husband, the man she once said was the devil in disguise, the man she claimed she was thrilled to leave behind. And they weren't just exchanging quick messages. Their chats were long, peppered with heart emojis, and even worse, voice notes. I hit play on one, and there it was, his voice, low and smooth, calling her babe, telling her how much he missed her. And then hers, responding in kind, saying she'd been thinking about him too. It wasn't just recent either. Their conversation history went back a full year. While I was planning anniversary dinners and talking about starting a family, she was reconnecting with him, messaging him late at night and sending photos. I felt sick to my stomach. I found hints in their messages. Last weekend was amazing. Can't wait to see you again. They were careful not to name specific places, but it was clear they weren't just catching up over coffee. This wasn't emotional cheating. This was a full-blown affair. I sat there staring at her phone, trying to make sense of it. How could she? How could she tell me she wanted transparency while doing all of this behind my back? It wasn't about being honest. It was about making herself feel better. She wanted me to give her permission so she wouldn't feel guilty about what she was already doing. And the irony? I still remember the way she used to talk about Chris. Back when we were dating, she described him as manipulative, selfish, and controlling. He's the kind of person who takes and takes until there's nothing left of you, she told me once. She made it sound like leaving him was the best decision of her life. And now she was crawling back to him, sneaking around like a teenager with a crush. That's when it hit me. Her honesty talk was just manipulation, plain and simple. She wanted to paint herself as the good guy in her own story, but the truth was clear. She'd already made her choice. And it wasn't me. And I was just the idiot she left in the dark. I waited until the house was quiet. It was one of those evenings where you can hear the clock ticking in the next room. I knew it was time. I couldn't let it fester anymore, couldn't sit there pretending that everything was normal when it was anything but. She was in the living room, scrolling on her phone, completely at ease. I walked in and stood there for a moment trying to find the right words. My voice was steady when I finally spoke. "Sarah, we need to talk." She looked up, her face immediately guarded. "About what?" I sat down across from her, careful to keep my tone calm. "I know you've been meeting him, your ex. I know it hasn't been just texts or phone calls. You've been seeing him, haven't you?" Her head jerked back like I'd slap her with my words. "What are you talking about?" she said, her voice defensive, her eyes darting to the side. "You're being paranoid." I leaned forward, my elbows on my knees, meeting her eyes. "Don't lie to me, Sarah. I've seen the messages. I've noticed the way you've been acting lately, hiding your phone, staying out late, smiling at texts you won't share. And it's him, isn't it? The man you once told me was the worst mistake of your life." She froze for a moment, then scoffed. "I can't believe you went through my stuff. Do you even hear yourself right now? You're invading my privacy. This is exactly why I wanted to be honest with you. I told you everything because I thought you'd understand." "Understand what?" I asked, my voice rising just a bit. "That you've been lying to my face while meeting him behind my back? That you're trying to make me feel like the unreasonable one for calling it what it is, cheating." Her face twisted in anger. "It's not cheating. We're just talking. I haven't done anything wrong, and you're blowing this way out of proportion. You always do this. You read too much into things." I shook my head, feeling the heat rising in my chest. but I forced myself to stay calm. No, Sarah. You don't get to spin this. You told me you wanted transparency. But the truth is, you were just trying to clear your conscience. You've already crossed the line, and now you're trying to make me the bad guy for not being okay with it. She stood up then, pacing the room. You don't understand. It's not like that. He's changed. He's not who he used to be. And maybe I needed closure, okay? I needed to know if there was still something there. That doesn't mean I don't love you. Closure, I repeated, the word tasting bitter on my tongue. Closure isn't sneaking around behind your husband's back. It's not lying about meeting someone you swore was close to the devil. Do you even hear yourself? Her defenses started to crumble. She stopped pacing, crossing her arms tightly over her chest. I didn't mean for it to happen like this, she mumbled. I didn't think. I don't know what I was thinking. Maybe you weren't, I said flatly. But you knew one thing for sure. You didn't want to be honest until you were caught. And now you're apologizing, not because you regret what you've done, but because you're scared of what people will think when they find out. Her face paled. That's not true, isn't it? I interrupted. You badmouth him to everyone we know, your family, our friends. They all know what you said about him, how he treated you. How do you take that back now? How do you explain that you're suddenly running back to him? Tears welled in her eyes, and she looked down, avoiding my gaze. I didn't mean for it to go this far, she whispered, her voice trembling. I sighed, the weight of the moment pressing down on me. Sarah, I can't do this anymore. You've made your choice, you chose him. So go ahead, focus on him. Be with him if he's so important to you. But don't expect me to stay and play the fool. Her tears spilled over, but I didn't move to comfort her. I'd already given her too much of myself. This wasn't about her tears or her regrets. It was about me finally standing up for my own self-respect. I stood up quietly, walking out of the room without looking back. You know, when someone you trust with your whole heart betrays you, it doesn't just hurt, it shakes everything you believe in. I sat on the edge of the bed and thought about our marriage, about how much of myself I had poured into it. I wasn't perfect, no one is, but I always tried to make her happy. I trusted her completely, and I never doubted she had my back. But now I realized that trust had been a one-way street. She wanted me to sit there, nod my head, and give her my blessing to pursue a man she once described as the worst decision of her life. How did we even get here? I took a deep breath and started packing a few essential things in a duffel bag. When I went back to the living room, I looked her in the eyes. I tried to stay calm, even though my chest felt like it was going to explode. You've already made your choice, I told her. My voice was steady, but inside I was breaking. You chose him over us. Her face fell, and for a moment I thought I saw regret, maybe even guilt. But it didn't matter anymore. I wasn't going to stick around and fight for someone who had already decided I wasn't enough. I'm leaving, I said, and as those words left my mouth I felt numb. I will be choosing myself this time. You wanted freedom? I added. You've got it. Go focus on him if he's that important to you. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't lash out. I just walked to the door and out to the garage toward my car. I knew it was the right thing to do. I deserved better. I deserved someone who would fight for me the way I fought for her. When I finally told our family and close friends what had happened the next day, the reactions were mixed, to say the least. It wasn't easy for me to share. Admitting that your marriage is falling apart, especially over something like this, isn't exactly the kind of conversation you look forward to. But I knew it had to be done. I wasn't going to cover for her or pretend like everything was fine. I started with her parents. I didn't go in with anger or accusations. I just told them the facts. I explained how Sarah had come to me with her transparent idea of pursuing her ex-husband, and how I later found out she had already been seeing him behind my back. Her mom was shocked. Her dad was quiet for about a minute before saying, I don't even know what to say right now. That pretty much summed it up for everyone I told. Then there were my own family and friends. My mom got angry. I mean really angry. She went on a full rant about how someone like that doesn't deserve a second of your time. My best friend just shook his head and said, "Dude, how did she even think that was okay to say out loud?" It was clear no one was defending her. Even the people who loved her were stunned by her choices. And Sarah? Well, she didn't take the fallout very well. About a week after everything came to light, my lawyer had the legal separation papers ready to go. By that time, I had already restricted her number from calling me because she just wouldn't stop. She kept texting, calling, leaving voicemails, trying to get through to me. One text said, "I never intended to leave you for him. I swear I just didn't know how to handle my feelings." Another one said, "I realize now that what I did was the dumbest thing I've ever said out loud. I can't believe I even thought that would work." And then there was the one where she begged me, "Please, if you can't forgive me for me, do it for the life we've built together over the years." But you know what? None of it felt genuine. Every word sounded like manipulation. I couldn't help but think, if she really cared about the life we had together, why was she willing to throw it away for a man she once called the devil? Her apologies felt like they were more about saving face than saving us. I wasn't sold. The trust was gone. And without trust, there is no foundation on which to build. So, while the legal process played out, I focused on something I hadn't done in a long time. I started working out again, something I'd put on the back burner for years. I reconnected with old friends, went to places I'd always wanted to see, and slowly began rebuilding the confidence that had taken such a massive hit. I made a promise to myself during that time. Never again would I settle for less than mutual respect and honesty. That became my new standard, not just in relationships, but in every area of my life. If someone wasn't willing to meet me halfway, they weren't going to be part of my story moving forward. And honestly, that's where I found my peace, not in her texts, not in the apologies, but in finally choosing myself. Now, I want to ask you, what do you think? If you were in my shoes, would you have stayed? Would you have tried harder even after everything? Or would you have walked away like I did? Let me know in the comments, because I'd really like to hear your thoughts. Thanks for listening to my story. If this resonated with you, or if you've been through something similar, just know you're not alone. Sometimes, the hardest decisions are the ones that set us free